Well, Premier Perrottet, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure, Andrew. Good to see you.
So you're after this health reform deal with the Commonwealth. You want this to fund primary care for nurses and paramedics and to be executed jointly with the states, and you want a national rollout of free telehealth, pharmacy prescribing and urgent care clinics. Will the feds agree to this, and how much will it cost?
Well, I don't think we should start with the cost. We should start with the policy position, and it shouldn't be about state governments, territory governments going to the federal government, cap in hand, asking for money. What we've got to focus on as a country is having the best healthcare possible and a better integration between primary care and the GP network and the public health system. What we're seeing across the country are many people not being able to access a GP when and where they need one, and that's putting presentations into the emergency department. Just in New South Wales alone, close to 50% of emergency departments are patients who could see their GP. So Victoria and New South Wales have stepped up in terms of 25 urgent care clinics. That's not in our area of responsibility, but we know by integrating the systems better, we'll get better health outcomes right across the nation.
All right. Well, federal sources have told me they promised $750 million for this rollout of primary care to other areas at the election, and they are not going to promise you any more money in the middle of your election campaign. Any more money they would provide would go through their normal budget processes in May. Could that be a roadblock, particularly to reaching agreement Friday?
Funding shouldn't be a roadblock. Let's start with the best policy possible. So whether that investment in telehealth, once again largely in the federal government space, but we're doing a lot of work there as well. Pharmacy reform, which is occurring in Queensland and New South Wales, I think that should go nationwide. And also that better integration between GPs. And I'm more than happy to continue to invest in those urgent care clinics to ensure there's less pressure on the public health system. So I'm not going down to Canberra on Friday asking for funding. I'm asking for a better health system.
So you want the policy and we'll worry about funding later? That's what you're going to say to the PM?
I want a better roadmap in place which ensures we have a better health system right across the country. And I'm saying that from a position of strength. New South Wales has the strongest health system in the country. We saw that during COVID. Less waiting times here in our state, more patients being seen. But if we start with funding, we'll hit the roadblock straight away. Let's start with the policy and the principle and look at a way in which we would better integrate our health systems right across the country, and then we'll talk money.
But you can't guarantee the policy without the funding, can you?
Well, let's start with what's the best policy outcome, and if it's states and territories should step up to the plate. Absolutely, we all have a role and responsibility, and I think, and am very confident through the National Cabinet process, we've moved away from having the funding debates of COAG. We're actually working in a way that's collaborative to start with the outcome. The outcome is better patient treatment across the country.
Okay, is the strain on EDs, I know you spoke about the 50% that shouldn't be at EDs, I'm sure that's nearly always been the case, but is the strain on EDs a result of COVID? I remember doing
an element. There's no doubt that's an element.
Because I did an interview with you where I said, is this what, after the lockdowns, I think you'd just become Premier.
Right.
And you spoke about, well, 10,000 people are going to die from COVID. That's just the reality. It's actually less than that in New South Wales, right? But that's got to have its strains.
Well, I see it in hospitals I go to from Sydney to the bush. There is significant pressure on our emergency departments. There are still people presenting with COVID symptoms and the challenges that go with that. So there's no doubt all health systems across the country are still moving through this period of COVID, and that's why there should be a 50-50 funding arrangement in place. We'll have those discussions, but that's dealing with short-term issues. Let's deal with a long-term better health system across the country, and that's what I want to have the discussion on. And I'm making this point, Andrew, very clearly. I think the states and territories should continue to step up in places that generally aren't our natural responsibility, because we all have to work together on it.
What do you make of the GPs campaign against this?
Well, I respect their opinion. Now, in relation to pharmacies, and they obviously disagree with that approach, which provides pharmacies in New South Wales the opportunity to prescribe more medications and vaccinations. But that's important because that means there's less pressure on GPs. We've got significant demand for people wanting to see a GP. We've got significant demand for bulk billing right across the country. So I think the medical profession would agree with me when I say we need more doctors, we need more GPs in our communities, we need greater access to bulk billing and incentives to do that. But at the same time, we need to look at other areas like pharmacy reform across the country. So I welcome their views, but I think that also appreciate my position in relation to greater access to GPs in communities across the country.
I wanted to ask you for a reaction to Josh Landis resigning as Clubs New South Wales boss.
Well, he's apologised. I reached out to him last night. He's apologised and checked in how he was going with his family. People make mistakes. And Josh is someone I've worked very closely with over a number of years, previously in my role as Treasurer of the State during the pandemic. And I think Josh has a lot to be proud of in terms of the support he provided during one of the difficult times in our state's history.
Because he said an offensive thing and was sacked. Do you have any sympathy given you had to issue your own apology for wearing a Nazi uniform 20 years ago?
I said to him last night that he made a mistake and he's apologised unreservedly for that. I'm not offended by it, but there will be many people of faith across our state who were.
Could he have hung on to his job then?
Well, that's really a matter for Clubs New South Wales. People make mistakes and they apologise for them. That's part of life.
When will we see your cashless gaming proposal? And what would the limit be on a daily gamble? Because it's been speculated it could be 1,000 or 1,500.
I don't know where that speculation has come from. What I've said.
Will there be a limit?
What I've said is that cashless gaming doesn't work without limits of some form. This was a report from the New South Wales Crime Commission, a serious report that took over 12 months, close to 12 months to put together. And we are responding to that in a comprehensive way. We will have cashless gaming in New South Wales. We're working through the details and all the other elements of the Crime Commission report to stop money laundering in New South Wales through pokie machines and also to fix issues around problem gambling.
Is $1,000 a day too much of a limit? I'm not
going to give a running commentary. What I'm saying is we will have a comprehensive response. Then I'll come back on your show, Andrew, and we'll go through all the detail in relation to it.
Well, when do you think that will be? A couple of weeks?
Well, we're working through it. We're very close to the end of finalising that approach, and what we will have is a comprehensive response to the Crime Commission report.
All right. Would you consider reducing the number of machines or licences in the state?
I'm not going to give a running commentary. I will say in relation...
Sounds like possible.
Well, I will say that we have more pokie machines in New South Wales than anywhere in the country and anywhere around the world outside of Nevada. Now, there are issues we need to work through, and we'll have all that set out in our response.
You'd have to compensate people for taking their licences.
We've done that in the past.
So how many? Could you have half as many, three-quarters as many?
Andrew, we're not playing this game.
All right. I just wanted, because I haven't had a chance yet to ask you about this 21st party. Yep. I mean, I'm going to just ask you a couple of questions you might not like here, I think. But I think people are curious. Were you dressed as Hitler? Were you hamming it up? Do you think there's a photo out there?
Well, I'm not sure. I certainly wasn't dressed like that. As I said, it was a mistake that I made when I was very young, an immature mistake that I'm deeply apologetic because as you go on your life's journey, you realise that uniform causes immense pain and suffering for many people. And as I said at the time, I was terribly sorry for that mistake that I made.
Did anyone threaten you with a photo?
No.
Are you a member of Opus Dei?
No.
What did you make of this Four Corners program, which seemed to tie you to it simply by virtue of the fact you've been school captain at Redfield?
Well, that's a matter for the ABC. What I would say in relation to bullying at schools, it's completely unacceptable, and I have zero tolerance as Premier for bullying in any school across New South Wales, and I think we all have a responsibility as parents and teachers across New South Wales to do everything we can to ensure that people have an incredibly positive experience at all of our schools.
There were probably just two things that stuck out to me in the program. One is this business of Opus Dei involving people whipping themselves and this being supposedly related to a class. That was denied. The other was this allegation a teacher showed students pictures of holes in the brain if they watch pornography. Have you ever come across anything like that at that school?
I never experienced anything like that, but obviously certain kids, and you have teachers that do the wrong thing in all schools from time to time. But what's most important is that schools abide by the curriculum. That's why when those allegations were made to my office, we referred it to the independent authority to conduct an investigation. That happens from time to time, as you would imagine, with parents and school students putting complaints in about schools. What I do know is that a complaint against the schools in that program had never been made to that independent authority or to the Education Minister's office.
So your experience at that school, nothing untoward happened?
No, I had a great, and I've been very blessed with a great education that's given me significant opportunities in my life, and I'm very, very proud of the fact that I've had those opportunities. I'm very grateful for it, and my parents were in that story, which I thought, that's really matter for ABC is the relevance of that. But what I'd say is I'm very grateful to have the parents that I've had, and the opportunities and the sacrifices that they made for me. I'm very, very grateful and thankful.
How are you feeling about your election prospects right now?
I'm very confident. I think as a state, we're heading in the right direction. New South Wales is the strongest performing economy. The Liberals and Nationals have a long-term economic plan to keep our state moving forward. And that's incredibly important. We can't just focus on the here and now. We've got to set up our state for future success. And I believe our track record, particularly during the last couple of years, which has been very difficult during COVID, bushfires and floods, our state has stood incredibly strong, and I believe I've got the experience and the energy to keep driving New South Wales to greater heights.
And despite what you say is a strong performance, it's pretty neck and neck. If in fact you're behind in the polls, Why do you think that is?
Well, it's my job. That's on me to communicate as we head into the next 2 months, the strength of the Liberals and Nationals, and it's only under our government that we can continue to move New South Wales forward. And that's what I do every single day. That's what my team does. There are economic challenges that lie ahead for many people across our state, but it's only under the Liberals and Nationals that are in the best position to keep taking our state forward.
It seems like you've had, with some of your policy, a pretty transparent push for that, what's called the teal vote. Would you agree?
Look, I've been Premier for over 12 months, a little over 12 months, and in that time we've worked on a whole range of areas, new ideas, fresh way of thinking to provide opportunity and prosperity for the people of our state. Now, there are policies that you might say appeal to one demographic than another, but I govern for the entire state of New South Wales, from the city to the bush, from the eastern suburbs to the western suburbs. I'm driven every day to make everyone's life easier and better, and that's whether the reforms, our childcare reforms, our pre-K education reforms, our healthcare reforms, our property tax changes, giving first home buyers the choice of either paying that upfront stamp duty or a smaller annual amount. These are new ways of thinking that helps provide better opportunities for people right across our state, and that's what drives me.
Do you feel the pressure of the last coalition government on the mainland?
No, I know, particularly at a national cabinet level, that it's important that the values that I hold as a Liberal are values of aspiration and opportunity that are important in terms of driving the success of our state. I'm also proud of the fact that we've also been able to lead national debates and create national change. And I think as a government, we've done very well. There are challenges that are coming, as you know, higher inflationary environment, interest rates rising. And I believe it's only the Liberals and Nationals that have the economic plan to help people in the short term, but ultimately as well, set our state up for future success. I'm not here about the next election. I'm not here to govern for the next election. I'm here to govern for the next generation, and that's what I'm focused on.
And just finally, you're a supporter of The Voice.
Yep.
Peter Dutton says there's not enough detail. He seems like he might oppose it, even if there's a free vote for the Liberals federally. What would be your message to him about it, in terms of why you support it as a Liberal?
Well, I support it as a Liberal in principle because I think being able to consult with our First Nations people in respect of matters that affect them is incredibly important. I also respect the fact that the Prime Minister has said that he's consulting and will undertake consultation with communities across New South Wales. I think this is a time where we should be united as a country, but we should also have a respectful debate. And have you have a respectful debate, and as Peter Dutton has raised concerns, he's completely right to do that because details need to be provided, and by doing that, we'll get to a good outcome. And that's, I think, a very important part of political life. And the opposition always has the responsibility to ask questions, raise issues. That shouldn't be seen as an attack. It should be encouraged so we can work together to create positive change.
And would you see state and regional voices that a New South Wales government would respond to?
Well, I think let's deal with the referendum that's coming to the country. and let's work together. Every state and territory leader has supported in principle this position. I think that's a positive thing, but there are always going to be different concerns. Our job is to listen to those concerns, and the Prime Minister will do that through consultation, and then hopefully we get an outcome that unites our country. And even recently on Australia Day, I think one of the sad things at the moment is that we always have these divisive debates. We should be united, and we should celebrate and reflect on everything that's great about our country. Having different opinions is not a bad thing, it's a very good thing.
Premier Perrottet, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Andrew.